Leveraging age, experience into experience, knowledge, and wisdom, Charlie Munger style. Okay, hello everyone. Once again, let's have a chat about an important business concept, and that is leveraging your age and your experiences plural, into experience, knowledge, and hopefully wisdom. Now, age is just what happens with the passage of time. And spinning around the sun once every 365 days. So that's age. Now, with age, with time, comes experiences. Right? More events happen, you have more experiences. And the first thing you need to do is leverage those experiences, those events that you witness, into experience knowledge. So not experiences, the plural, happenings or events, but what should come from that, which is experience, knowledge or experience that's actually valuable. So you learn from things and it becomes experience that come from these events that you can also call experiences. And hopefully you can convert that experience knowledge, so an understanding, into wisdom. And that's obviously very, very important in terms of preferably using wisdom. So deeper insights coming from that experience knowledge to perfect what you do in the future to a very substantial degree. Okay, now we can all have experiences and sort of learn from it a bit, but what you really want to do is leverage that into wisdom that really takes you a very long way. So there is a difference between experience knowledge or experience and wisdom. Right, wisdom is far more powerful, potent, and valuable. That's just reality. Now, the point about this is that age will bring you experiences, plural. That's guaranteed. It should bring you experience knowledge, so some sort of understanding of what's happened to you, but it doesn't guarantee you wisdom, I'm afraid. So an older person, they've got age, they'd have a lot of experiences, they should have quite a bit of experience knowledge, but they don't necessarily have a lot of wisdom, unfortunately. And it's important to gain that, but you won't necessarily get that, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But essentially, later in life, especially in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, you should be benefiting from the harvest of those experiences that you've had, the events in your life, with a lot of experience, knowledge, and wisdom. That's the harvest of older age, but it's not a guarantee, unfortunately. But with those experiences that you've had, experience, knowledge, you should be able to see patterns in things, and over time you can look at those patterns, and it gives you predictability in the future, gives you pools of predictability. It gives you understanding, and you can use a lot less energy on certain situations because you know what those situations are, those experiences are, and you don't have to use as much energy or time to do something. So the more you experience something, you get experience knowledge, and that cuts down the time quotient you need and the energy quotient you need to address certain things. So things get easier and easier because you understand them more, because you've done them multiple times, and it builds up competence. It builds up myelin, white matter, in your brain, which we've known about since the diffusion tensor imaging machine was created in 2000, and we can actually see the human brain in a living person. We can see the white matter, the myelin that helps the neural pathways, because practice does make perfect. Practice makes perfect because practice makes myelin, and myelin helps you to do things better. So ordinary tasks, you need less time, less energy, because you're not over-egging it, over-engineering it, overdoing it, which sometimes you can do initially. You either put too much effort in or too little effort in because you don't know how much effort should go in. So that's one of the big harvests of age. You should be able to cut down the time and energy you put into things, because you know more, you've done it before, and you've built through your experiences the knowledge of experience, so experience knowledge that allows you to do things quicker, less energy, because you've done them before. And you've built up the mile, and you've built up the competence, you've built up the ability to do it. And then, of course, you want to build wisdom out of that. A lot like Charlie Munger did. But there's a problem. With age doesn't just come good things, you can end up with problems as well. All humans have biases, they're hardwired into us, and unfortunately one of them is confirmation bias, and Charlie Munger was very keen to make sure he didn't engage in confirmation bias. He operated well into his 90s because he was good at making sure that his decision making was as clean as possible and free of bias, and especially confirmation bias. And that's where you have preconceived notions and ideas and theories and values that you then try to justify by cherry picking and plucking information that supports those views. And if you're consciously, say, going to the internet and looking for things that justify your views, and you're consciously avoiding things that don't back up your views and justify your views, then you're at an extreme risk of making mistakes in relation to decisions, investments, and people, because you've basically gone out and gone for the material that justifies your preconceptions, and you've avoided the material that doesn't justify your preconceived notions and views. And that's very dangerous. And people do it all the time. We're all human. But confirmation bias is something you must try to ignore, especially in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, because as you get older, there's a risk that you will become trapped by the seductive notion that you are clever, when you're not, certainly not, you're not clever as a result of age, and that you know more than the next person, which is also potentially untrue, and that you don't need to listen to people, and of course that is the most dangerous one of all, just because you've got age. And you can hear people talking about their age, and I'm a grandfather, and I've been around a long time, and I know this, and I've got grandchildren. But you may have grandchildren. I can assure you the next person probably has great grandchildren, and more than you. So that's completely irrelevant. What your children have done in terms of their offspring is neither here nor there. It doesn't make you special in any way, shape, or form. But as soon as someone of an age starts talking like that, you can bet they're at the bottom of the barrel trying to justify a position which deep down they know is ridiculous, right? So whether it's talking about their grandchildren, talking about their age, talking about information they may have found recently, all they're doing is trying to justify a preconceived notion that simply hasn't been subjected to proper scrutiny. And of course, as soon as they try to do it in a discussion with you, it falls apart very quickly, and they revert quickly to the age discussion. And the only way you convert experience knowledge into wisdom is by avoiding confirmation bias and mistakes, and trying to justify your arguments with age reference points and age concepts. And it's difficult because it's very easy to try and sort of suggest that your age justifies an opinion ab initio, and of course it doesn't. Your age may have given you experiences that you converted into experience knowledge, but then to convert that into wisdom and to be right, you have to be very disciplined, self-disciplined, mentally, about honesty about your argument, the construction of it, and whether it makes sense or not. And too many people are not. However old they are, they don't have that mental self-discipline, and for a variety of reasons, they simply justify a preconceived notion with information that they get. And some people just trawl around on the internet and cherry pick whatever information justifies their opinion. Now, we all have to find information that backs up our arguments. That makes sense. But you have to be careful in terms of degree and carrying it too far, taking it too far, and it becoming a simple confirmation bias problem. And too often that is the case. And certainly Charlie Munger did not make that mistake because he was very careful not to. He operated well into his 90s, not making that mistake, because wisdom only comes when you clean away those mistakes that are made by taking information and then using it for your own purposes and not seeing the wider context of it. And as I say, it can be very dangerous if you're making decisions, investments, judgments about people, so on and so forth, in terms of material that you've plucked, because it justifies preconceived notions. Now, your preconceived notions may be right, but if you're going to utter them, you should put them up to scrutiny and concede the weaknesses as well, because nothing's perfect, of course. But to do that, you have to show discipline, and you have to be very careful to do that in terms of dealing with other people as well, because they probably have not just a different view. They do have a different view because, of course, special relativity means they have a different view, because they see the world differently in terms of time, as of course Einstein showed in 1905 with his theory of special relativity. So, age is great for experiences. It is great for experience knowledge as you learn how to use less time, less energy, less worry. One of the great benefits of age, not worrying about things so much because you understand them. But then to convert that into wisdom, that experience knowledge into wisdom, you have to be very careful in terms of avoiding the biases, especially confirmation bias, and just trying to pluck information to back up your preconceived notions, because that can lead to bad investments, bad decisions, and of course bad judgments about other people, because you don't have all the information, and you've risked the problem of pareidolia, seeing things that don't exist, seeing faces, human faces in nature where it doesn't exist. And of course you can do that with decisions. Anyway, please let me know what you think. This is probably one of the most important topics to do a podcast on. Thanks for your time.